little friend. That's a youngster chick. Well, still got a sort of young plumage blackbird. Doesn't bother. Hey. That is sweetie. Oh, there's that cat. Watch out for the cat. Life goes on. Good morning. Growl, growl, growl. This old panda is crying permanently in this veil of tears. So I agree. Peter the panda. Peter. Whoops. Here we go. Bye. Sorry, darling. Look, he's got big tears. Oh dear. My children. Mad world we live in. Sorry. Right, now, feed my lambs, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep. That's what I'm blathering on about still. Anyone tries to sort of force ram their Christian beliefs down my throat, I run a mile, I won't have it. Discussing matters with a fellow Christian is wonderful, as it were. Sharing, discussing, whatever. Well, I absolutely refuse to sort of, in my spirit, to try and self-publicise. I'm just not interested in, as it were, me, myself. Yes, I'm a big, strong spirit, but in terms of my ego, I am nothing before God. I recognise that, thank heavens, ages ago. As should we all. Oops, I've left it going. Let me hit me the copyright. Bother. I'm sorry, chaps and chapesses. I hope they don't knock me out for copyright. Blast. Oh. But not. I could cut that whole thing, couldn't I? I want much of the old Peter the panda crying. This veil of tears. I listened on Radio 4, he's pretty good normally, Evan Davis, I think his name is, the presenter, the journalist, on Radio 4 at 5 p.m. every weekday, generally, when he's not on his holes. Interviewing Francesca Albanese, who is still the special rapporteur for the United Nations on Palestine. Absolutely nailing it, as ever. That's what is going on in the Holy Land now, Israel, the Gaza Strip, is genocide. There are crimes against humanity, and it is ethnic cleansing. But the BBC, even this journalist, Evan Davis, I think that's his name, sort of hacking back at her saying, well, the Americans don't agree. Well, it's the Americans who are jolly well funding and arming and supporting morally the ethnic cleansing, aren't they? As in the President of the United States of America suggesting, just a bit more than suggesting, let's just get rid of those 2 million plus people and we'll make it into a nice beach resort. Oh, it's sickening. So, here we are, I'm living now. There was Vietnam when I was younger. And I'm not kind of protesting type, going on marches or stuff. I think that's generally is more just for your own feelings never achieves anything. There were millions protesting against the second war in Iraq, but I mean, Mr. George W. Bush and Mr. Tony Blair just went ahead with it. Well, primarily the Americans, the poodle following. That was, in terms of numbers, much, much bigger. Hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqi citizens were indiscriminately slaughtered, by and large, by America, that assisted by Britain. I left the country. I couldn't stand it when they both, George W. Bush and Mr. Tony Blair, both got voted back into power. For second terms, I just got a visa, I went to India. That was my response, that I just couldn't stand this foul little England behaving like that. So, what's new? And now, in my lifetime now, today, there is genocide. She says, this blasted little man, actually, I've always rather sort of had a soft spot for him, but I'm not so sure anymore, because the BBC attitude is we've got to be impartial, we've got to sort of see both sides. Well, if someone pokes you in the eye with a sharp stick, you don't say, I wonder why they did that. Do you think it was a good idea? Did they have a good reason? You just jolly well arrest them and try them and convict them for assault. Her parting words were, there's been this big kerfuffle about some pop group at the Glastonbury Festival ending up chanting, you know, kill the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. Well, obviously that's wrong. I'm a Christian, you know, I'm coming from the position that every single hair on the head of your fellow man, woman and child is precious and special. If they strike you on one cheek, give unto them the other cheek. This is just basic, absolute, down-to-earth Christian knowledge, teaching from Christ. That's exactly, amongst other things, what he came to do, to give us, mankind, the opportunity to rise out of our baser selves. So obviously that sort of behaviour by that group is, you know, not on, basically. But anyway, she didn't really respond to that. She said, well, actually, isn't it extraordinary how much media coverage there is of that matter, and how little there is of babies and youngsters and adults having their arms and legs blown off by the Israeli Defense Force? They've just killed another doctor and his family. Bombed them, you know, and their excuse is, oh, there's some Palestinian terrorists there. Just call them terrorists and they cease to exist as ordinary human beings in the same context as you yourself. Well, the moment you yourself descend to killing your fellow human beings, you cease to have any moral standing, and that is America now, because it is morally supporting them, financially supporting them, militarily supporting them, Israel, in the genocide. I mean, Ilan Pappé, he's a Jewish, you know, grandparents killed in the Holocaust and all of this stuff. Jewish professor philosophy or that sort of thing, studying war crimes and studying all this stuff, and I mean, he's coming out and saying what Israel is doing now is evil, it's genocide. just to mention one, and another one was the former First Minister of Israel, whose name is just escaping me at the moment, but he was saying that it's just the current government of Israel, but they wouldn't be in power unless people voted for them. So the sentiment clearly within the Jewish people of Israel is that what is going on is sort of okay, or in fact the right thing to do, which means essentially they're behaving like the Germans who slaughtered their ancestors, because presumably the individual Germans thought they were doing the right thing by exterminating Jews. It couldn't have happened. Hitler couldn't have done what he did. The German nation couldn't have done what they did without Hitler, clearly, but the people of Germany doing it. As a Christian, I reject any and all forms of violence, and that's even violence in your thoughts. God knows everything. I don't know how, but he does. It's an absolute mystery. Feed my lambs, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep. Well, I was out in the market square yesterday here in this little town, Alnwick in Northumbria, northeastern corner of Ingerland, and I met this, well, I sat down, there's a almost completely blind chap with a white cane, etc., older man, and I admire his sort of chutzpah, which is a Yiddish word, I think. Just to get up and go. I mean, I think he's there quite often, just sitting there having his tea or coffee or whatever. And another couple were there, and they turned out to be Christian, and so we got chatting, etc. So what I'm driving at is that if all, or many, at least Christians around the world, yeah, there's another one. Yeah, it's different. This is a parent. You see? Little head pops up. Then perhaps we could collectively make a difference. Never mind what the courts and everything, this is what Francesca Albanese was saying, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Palestine, that if you wait for the courts years and years hence, South Africa has brought a case to the International Court of Justice in The Hague in Holland about this, and they've made a provisional judgment quickly to say, yes, this looks like genocide and it must be stopped, right? Which means the perpetrators and those assisting the perpetrators, i.e. America and Britain specifically, mostly America, but yes, there's Britain in the mix as well. My country, I am British. They must stop. If it's plain that there is a genocide going on, you don't keep perpetrating that genocide with impunity. That is the point. So here I am, sitting pretty. Had a big shop yesterday, so I've got all nice food. I'm going to have a fish kedgeree. Lucky me. Hear the seagull. Love is the answer. You know, you can't harm anyone if you have genuine love. You don't have to, well, clearly we're not going to like everyone. That's why in the Lord's Prayer there's forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. This is human nature. We're bound to have our differences, people. But if you calm down and look at it calmly, yes, you remember stuff. I remember stuff when I first came here. My neighbour kicked my front door in for some complete, well, he's got ADHD or something, the poor fellow. But he's got a lovely family and a wife and 6 children and such like. And he did actually physically kick my front door in. Well, okay, I forgive him. You know, it's rocks in his head. If I didn't forgive him, then it rocks in my head. Basically, that's how I see it. We fixed it. No, someone helped me, but we fixed the door now, so, and we've shaken hands and, you know, put it behind us, actually. So, feed my lambs, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep now. Who are my sheep? Sons and daughters of Abraham, basically all of mankind. Wouldn't it be wonderful? I'm almost certain that there will be another far worse pandemic than the COVID one, when everyone was sort of challenged, the whole world was challenged by this bug. And then people, you know, sort of came together. You recognise that the geezer who drives the lorry, who brings the food to the supermarket, is actually a human being. The person who stacks the shelves is actually a human being. They're not just them who do the menial tasks. Because if they didn't turn up, you wouldn't have any food on your shelves, would you? So I think God will give us more in the way of pandemics, i.e. challenges to one's physical circumstances. And then you see people start saying, oh, help, oh, God help me now. The time to thank God is when you're fine. The time to praise God is when things are going well. Don't just forget him because, you know, you're kind of hunky-dory. Enough rambling. Love is the answer. There is nothing else, ultimately. In life, in death, love is the answer. Amen.